regard.
Dr. Ahmed Mustafa, the Professor of International Relations, thank you very much for being with us today on Nile TV International and this special coverage for the Peace Summit that just took place in the city of Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt under the chairmanship of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, and alongside his counterpart from the United States, the US President Donald Trump, in the attendance of more than 20 leaders from all over the world, showing support for the Gaza Strip, showing support for the Palestinians, and showing support for the peace deal that was just signed by the US President, by the Egyptian President, and the President of Turkey, and the Prince of Qatar as well. And moving on with the same speech that took place maybe minutes ago, maybe 30 minutes ago, by the Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, stating that there will be cooperation between Egypt and the United States for the reconstruction of the Gaza Strip, something that was affirmed once again by the US President, stating that a lot of wealthy nations, a lot of wealthy leaders are standing today to be supporting the Gaza Strip for the near future. President al-Sisi also stated that there will be a bright future for the region, not just for the Palestinians, but for the region, without the weapons of mass destruction. And this could be the last opportunity to be safeguarding the Middle East. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, as always and as usual, he mentioned the importance of implementing the two-state solution as soon as possible, especially that we have seen the recognition of a number of big nations, a number of big countries in the past 3 weeks at the United Nations General Assembly meetings in New York, stating and recognizing the independent state of Palestine. Hopefully this will be implemented on the ground. And finally, for President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, he mentioned that Egypt is awarding the US President the Order of the Nile for his efforts in peace. And I'm honored to be having with me our correspondent for the Egyptian television, Yasmin ElKaffas from Sharm el-Sheikh. Hello, Yasmin.
Hello, Ahmed. A very good evening.
Good evening to you too. What about the developments that took place in the past hour? Tell me more about them.
Okay, let me tell you, Ahmed, after President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi received US President Donald Trump at the airport, there were bilateral talks between both presidents. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, as I mentioned today, he welcomed the US President Donald Trump in Cairo ahead of Sharm el-Sheikh Peace Summit, which the two leaders, as we all know, co-chaired following a bilateral meeting attended by all the senior officials from both sides. I want to tell you also that President Trump, he praised the strong and historic relations, of course, between the two countries. He commended the U.S. President, Mr. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi commended the U.S. President's efforts and vision to end all the global conflicts, which have given new momentum to the push for peace in Gaza, Ahmed. The talks actually covered the full range of bilateral relations and also cooperation on achieving peace, achieving stability in the Middle East. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi expressed Egypt's deep appreciation for the key role President Trump has played in helping to stop the war in Gaza. He also reaffirmed Egypt's commitment to implementing President Trump's peace plan and to removing any challenges that could hinder its success. Also, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, he emphasized Egypt's historic leadership in launching the peace process in the region, noting that U.S. involvement remains essential for achieving the lasting peace. He described President Trump as a bold and a decisive leader capable of taking historic steps towards peace, expressing hope that Sharm el-Sheikh Peace Summit would mark the start of a new chapter of a real comprehensive and just peace in the region. He mentioned also, or he stressed on the importance of the U.S. support for the upcoming Gaza Reconstruction Conference, a point President Trump welcomed very much. On the other side, we can say that President Trump expressed his deep appreciation to Egypt, to all its people, praising President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's wise and effective leadership, as he described. which led to the recent peace agreement. He said that he was pleased to visit Egypt and to co-chair the summit, reaffirming the U.S. commitment to work with regional partners to promote integration, to promote economic growth, and a future built on cooperation rather than on conflict, as he mentioned. The two presidents also discussed the ways to strengthen the economic cooperation. President Sisi expressed his eagerness to continue working with President Trump to advance the U.S.-Egypt strategic partnership in all the fields. And President Trump, of course, he voiced strong support for expanding.
Yes, Yasmin, finally, because I know that you had a long day, especially even from the beginning of the day, would you tell me more about the meetings that took place between His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi? Since the beginning of the day, he is the chairman, he was chairing this summit, the peace summit in Sharm el-Sheikh, for ending the war, for ending the aggression against the Gaza Strip, and he received one... Thank you, Yasmin ElKaffas, the correspondent of the Egyptian television from Sharm el-Sheikh, and we move on to the speech that took place by the American President Donald Trump that followed the speech of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. The U.S. President stated that today they have achieved the impossible, which is peace in the Middle East. He stated that the war in Gaza is over and the civilians are returning to their homes, as we did see for the past couple of days, with the help, with the assistance of the Egyptian authorities in the Gaza Strip as well. And he mentioned that the rebuilding, Donald Trump, he stated that the rebuilding begins today and it will be in cooperation with the Egyptian authorities. The U.S. President Donald Trump also thanked the Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi for hosting the summit for today, for the peace agreements that took place for today, that were signed with alongside the U.S. President, the Egyptian President, and the President of Turkey and the Prince of Qatar. And he also appreciated that 6 fighter jets had escorted him along the way within the Egyptian airspace all the way to the airport of Sharm el-Sheikh, and that he was honored to be awarded the Order of the Nile, something that was announced earlier by His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi for his efforts in peace. He thanked Qatar, he thanked Turkey, and he even thanked the Saudi Prince Mohammed ibn Salman of Saudi Arabia, King Abdullah II of Jordan, and the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Shahbaz Sharif, which led to a speech by the Pakistani delegate and the Pakistani representative at the Peace Summit in Sharm el-Sheikh, and stating that peace was achieved after the efforts led by the U.S. President Donald Trump, and who is a man of peace, saving millions of lives in the Middle East. And once again, the U.S. President Donald Trump returned and welcomed the attendants one by one from every country, every world leader from every country, welcoming the new beginning with the end of the war that was marked for today. The U.S. President Donald Trump stated that the final sprint of the peace negotiations, they began in New York on the sidelines of the General Assembly 3 weeks ago, where the ideas were exchanged until the job was done, but no one expected this happening. You can see the departure now happening live of the U.S. President Donald Trump leaving Sharm el-Sheikh, leaving the city of peace after the conclusion of the peace agreement, after the signing ceremony of the peace agreement to be ending the war in the Gaza Strip, alongside the President of Egypt, Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, the President of Turkey, Rajab Tayyip Erdogan and the Prince of Qatar, Tamim bin Hamad, the US President, is leaving Sharm el-Sheikh after the press conference that he had given alongside His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. As the US President during the press conference also stated that in Israel, the Israelis are overjoyed with the news that the war is over. They are dancing on the streets after the news was propagated, and that the United States had worked really hard to guarantee peace with coordination very well, especially with the wealthy countries, to be ensuring the reconstruction of the Gaza Strip to be taking place as soon as possible for the benefit of the Palestinians, the cleaning process, as he mentioned, as he called it, to be taken place as soon as possible. Momentum towards peace with the 20-point plan that he has proposed, it is going on, it is moving forward within stages 3 and 4. He mentioned and he described the leaders that were present today in Sharm el-Sheikh as incredibly responsible leaders who were in this room with him, and they put their differences aside to have peace in the Middle East. On the other hand, he mentioned that the people of Gaza want to restore the basics of life, and they need a lot of money to rebuild the Strip, ensuring stability and success in the Middle East once again. It was a monumental day, according to the statements of the US President, in the history of the world, not just in the history of the region, and that he will not be funding hatred, bloodshed and terror anymore. He said that it is time to be demilitarizing the Strip, working with the United States and the mediating countries. And he mentioned once again for the second time today that World War III is not happening. It is not erupting from the Middle East, and especially not from this region. He stated that he will be continuing the cooperation that led to this breakthrough and restoring faith in humanity. And he concluded by saying that this was the greatest deal ever. As we have seen today, once again, the statements by His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi stating that he appreciated the plan to be ending the war in the Strip, to be ending the aggression by the Israeli occupation forces and the Israeli government against the innocent Palestinians in the territory in the Palestinian Gaza Strip, in coordination with the United States, with Turkey and with Qatar as well. It stated that Egypt had started a new era in the negotiations and in the efforts to be having peace in the region and having peace for the benefit of the Palestinians, not today, not in the past 2 weeks, not in the past 2 years, but in the past decades, when the late President Muhammad Anwar al-Sadat chose to be visiting Jerusalem. And he stated that we are in a dire need of an independent state for Palestine, especially that we have seen the recognition of the world leaders of the state of Palestine that took place in the past 3 to 4 weeks at the United Nations General Assembly meetings in New York in the United States. A lot of world leaders have recognized the state of Palestine, and this should be leading, according to the statements of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, to an independent state for the Palestinians, as today we have seen the rivals turning into friends and turning into allies. How to be ensuring this durable peace was one of the main topics tackled by His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi within his speech for today, following the historic signing of the accord between the Israeli side and the Hamas resistance fighters to be ending the war in the Gaza Strip. He stated that Egypt will be working with the United States for the reconstruction of the Palestinian Gaza Strip, stating that there will be a bright future for the region, a bright future for the Palestinians without the weapons of mass destruction. And this leads us to the end of this special coverage coming your way from Nile TV International for the peace summit that took place in the Egyptian resort city of Sharm el-Sheikh, to be announcing the peace agreement, to be announcing the end of the aggression and the end of the war against the innocent civilian Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.